All right. There you go.
It's funny. I thought maybe we were live and we were just waiting for people to show up.
I think we are live. All right.
We are live.
Yes, we are live. Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. This is Tim Watson here with Meet the Masters. I'm joined today by Master Kristina Ohlson. How are you, man?
I'm fantastic. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I'm excited to get a chance to talk with you. How are things in California right now?
They are sunny. They're mellow. People are coming out of their caves, their COVID caves. Still very much being respectful and masking. But yeah, you can see there's people a little more like, hi, let's talk. A little more, less hesitation on the streets and the grocery store. So it's nice.
Well, so it's pretty new that your restrictions have been kind of eased up, right, in the last month or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool. So how was your pandemic year?
Oh boy.
I don't know. Yeah, I know we only have an hour, but
I know, right? Well, let's start. I think for all of us, we've all had our ups and downs, and I feel so grateful to have my health and to have the communities that I do have around me. You know, there's been some disappointment. My brother and I were about to close on a property and launch a business in Maine, and that's been completely stalled out. The dream's still alive. It's a lifelong dream of ours, so it's not off the table. It's just paused, and that allowed me to come back and be with Vanessa, my partner, and we've since bought a house. So I'm in this bi-coastal existence, which in some ways Zoom and COVID has sort of embraced, right? Like one of the things we talk about is I can be in Connecticut. I've been teaching with Jennifer Tourist Studio, JCK Karate, or JC Karate in Connecticut, two days a week. So I did that all through the pandemic. So I was still engaged with Tang Soo Do and students, and so that was a gift. And I taught Qigong. I'm still teaching Qigong Monday through Friday mornings. So the different ways that we have been able to network and maintain our communities and build new communities and keep that desire for human connection alive has been important and profound. And I think that's a tribute to our human spirit, our ability to take a challenging situation and adapt. You know, we watch the association do that. We have those international classes like Grandmaster Strong, getting online, and we just were like, okay, the show goes on. We're in new territory. Let's figure this out. So very much like that.
It's funny, as you were saying her name, Master Couture Kelly said good morning.
I could have it. I'm like, maybe I should try and get online.
Yeah, you can go. So Mario Cologne says good morning.
Oh, good morning, Mario.
Mary Jane Richter Ohlson, is that mom?
That's my mom.
She says beautiful smile. You gotta love the support. Lindsay from Great Britain says hello. 82. Oh, it's actually sunny and 82 there. Wow.
Oh, nice. We may get there today. Give us a couple more hours. I know you're a little bit ahead in your day.
And then if Bobby Nelson says morning KO.
Morning, Bobby.
No talk of licorice yet.
Don't worry, they'll bring it up.
I thought it was hilarious that the one post, I forget what it was about, you messaged like 3 days later, it's like, I gotta bring this up. Where do you stand on licorice?
That's right, because you were talking about something. I forget, we showed a picture of gummy somethings. And
yeah.
All right.
Oh, it was you. I commented on you're like gummy fish or something like that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Swedish fish. Absolutely. In fact, I went out and bought a bag of the Swedish fish jelly beans.
Yes.
That's what it was. You had those. And I was like, oh, bag of worms, are we gonna go there? Like, you're gonna go there.
That's hilarious. You know, you were talking about the camaraderie and being able to stay connected through, you know, technology, and I feel like you are one of the people that really embrace it. Obviously, a lot of people did, but seeing you post on Facebook and how connected you were through, like you said, Region 9 and then Gong, it was really amazing to see and still see people connecting through that medium. I'm not the biggest Gong practitioner, but
Yep.
I know that there are people out there. You have a base. So how was it, or how is it teaching Gong through something like Zoom?
Honestly, I'd say it's a lot easier than teaching Tang Soo Do through Zoom.
Okay.
I mean, so much of the movements are symmetrical. So I'm not like, raise your left, no, your other left, no, this side. Right. You're like, I mean, at this point in time, my left and right, I'm like, it's 50-50. I'm like, right? Like when we got on, I was like, yeah, I see the windows over your left shoulder, like without hesitation.
Yeah.
I'm like, your left. But so yeah, and also there's some there's fluidity and there's a flexibility in Gong. So there's a lot of modifications. So like after I had my second shot and my first shot, I was like, oh, this wing doesn't really want to move. So we were doing silk reeling. And so I was like, well, we're going to do a little bit lower here. So it's really great for a full spectrum of people and bodies and ages. And so there's not so much like, that's wrong. Oh, you can't do it that way. Whereas Tang Soo Do, I'm like, that's not a fun stance. Sorry, buddy. I can't allow it, right? So you have some space there. It's been a joy, honestly. It's been a gift, not just to, I think, the people that do it, but for myself. We all have this community. We've had people from Austria, England, Mexico, and the States show up, whole slew of time zones, different languages, right? Like it's nice. You can literally just follow along. And if you make a little mistake, no one's gonna get hurt, nothing's gonna go wrong. Just catch back up the next cycle. So It's been a joy. It's been a lot of fun.
That's great. And I feel your pain on the Tang Soo Do Zoom teaching. The hardest thing for me was figuring out how to do Basai and Sipsu backwards.
Oh my God.
The other ones, so I've made a habit of trying to do like the lower forms backwards or reverse and things like that. But man, those higher, more tricky forms are tough.
Absolutely. Thank God for Nahanchi. I'm like,
I know, right? That's the easy one. All right, so a couple more people saying hi. Natalie from Great Britain says hello. Brian Orbison from Region 21 says hello. Zuberi and Willie Richardson say hello.
Hey guys.
And Pam Russell says hi.
Oh, Pam, what's up, girl? Yeah.
She's another one who has been like a trailblazer in getting people connected.
Big time. Oh, kudos to Pam. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal job with the networking and the master. Yeah, all of it. I mean, and it's so funny. You have too. I mean, the work that you're doing, and you're smiling. I mean, it's work, it's joy. You're having a great time. I think these interviews, but the gift this is to the association and to the future generations. I mean, we're far enough along in our organization that we're losing people, right? We've had a lot of loss in the last couple of years, and what you're doing right now, having these conversations, locking these hours in. I mean, I'm a newbie. I'm like, but like the people you've managed to have conversations with, and to share this with the association and put it in the treasure trove, and decades from now, people will be like, oh, look at so-and-so, and oh, this person's talking about Grandmaster Shin, and right? I mean, even with my new studio here, I've got at the region, nationals. 2 years. I'm like, time is so bizarre right now.
I know, right? 2018.
Was it? No, 19. No, don't say no.
Or anyway. 19. You're right.
I was like, wait a minute. There was a fundraiser, and they were selling the banners that have association, both flags, that had all three grandmasters on it. And so I teach in a park right now, so it's great because I can just carabiner that up on the fence, and then I have them all right there. And so we just had our first GUP test. So I've got 10 people testing for 9th GUP. I mean, it's such an amazing rite of passage, and they're so excited. They all show up on time. I mean, it's beautiful. And they're asking questions. They've been asking questions the last 4 weeks about the grandmasters and why are there 3 up there if there's only 1? Because for them, they're only going to know physically in person Grandmaster Strong, right? And so we have this time passing, and these new generations coming along. So what the work you're doing is so important. So thank you.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. Honestly, it was an idea I'd had for a while, and Master Setyanto got the ball rolling, and I just kept it going. I'm excited, like you were talking about before we got on. I was doing questions for Master Purnell. I have one coming up with him soon, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah. I love me some Master Purnell.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that one. Speaking of Master Purnell, Master Marsh, Patrick Marsh says hello.
Yeah.
Denise Rodriguez from Connecticut says hi.
Hey, girl.
Christine McCarthy says, loving the key gong. Thank you for keeping it going. Great
yes.
for Tang Soo Do and family alike.
Yeah, so Chris is an amazing, like, here's your like conversation about like webs and how we met people. Like her instructor, Miss Divine, saw my post and shared it with her studio. Chris showed up, recommended it to her mom. Patty shows up in my Qigong class. Chris came a couple times. Patty shows up, and I think she showed up after we had started, and she was gone before. So I had no idea who she was, where she came from, and then she came back. Patty was doing Qigong with me for an entire year. Chris had to go back to work. Now she's back off work. But like, there are people, that's what's been really fun, is there are people that have shown up, no longer connected to World Qigong or World Tang Soo Do Association. They're still training from these little connections from, the domino of it all. It's really cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Great. Like Chris.
So last year when, Grandmaster Bodwin passed away, I had the chance to come up to the funeral, and then I saw you there and knew that you were, I was like, hey, what are you doing here? And you kind of touched base on it earlier, but so that can kind of get us into the conversation of how you got your start in the martial arts and growing up on the East Coast and all that. So
absolutely, yeah, it was well, it was great to see you, and I appreciate, it's always such a hard event to be at, of course. And so it's always nice to like make that kind of be like, hi.
Yeah, right.
Light. Oh, so thank you for that moment. Yeah, from Vermont. I'm a Vermonter through and through, a New Englander, and that'll never change. Even though I've been in California for 21 years. I mean, even though I went back in 19, I've now actually been back in California for longer than I was back in Maine. Which is like, so yeah, I grew up in Vermont, and I'm not sure, and I'm sure my mom she'd love to chime in and be like, no, you asked for it. But my first experience to martial arts was judo, and it was through like an after school program. And I don't know, I'm assuming my mom was like, these are your options. Both my parents worked, so it wasn't like, it was like, what are you gonna do? And I'm assuming I picked judo. I mean, I don't remember the process, but I do remember once getting into it, it was like, oh, this is my thing. And it wasn't just movement, it was uniform, it was protocol, there was just like something about the concept. And the instructor was fantastic. She was sort of, a younger woman. I mean, I say that now, she's probably younger than I am now. I don't know what that means anymore with age, but like, I'm in first grade, and it was like you had to get a white uniform. So you had to go out and she was teaching in a gymnastics facility 2 blocks from the elementary school. We walked by ourselves in first grade, those blocks, the elementary, so like I think about it now and being in California, like no one would let anybody walk anywhere. But yeah, it was fantastic. It was, I know my mom told me this. She wrote for my newsletter in San Francisco like years ago, a little like comment about Kristina or whatever. And she said that that I actually told her one time, like, Mom, I don't do this. I don't do martial arts to fight. I don't know. She said, you either said to do it to feel safe or I do it to feel confident or something like that. So I'm sure that at a young age, part of what I loved about it was I felt confident and safe. But we did that for a couple of years, and I still have this like memory in my head of learning like where to put your front foot, where to get your hip, how to grab the collar, like the whole thing. And I know that doing that for 2 years, I'm sure it wasn't 12 for 24 months, but like after school program or whatever, doing that knowing how to fall and tumble, huge.
Right.
I mean, we fall in this world. We do it. And considering that I have lived a very physical life, the lack of fear to the ground and the ability to just go with it, gift for me, absolute gift. So that's my start. And then she moved. And again, my mom would say, like, every night going to bed, like, Mom, when am I going to do martial arts again? When am I going to do martial arts again? So the next time the rec center offered a program, she threw me in it. And this was actually by a local studio. So you had to do the rec program and then you had to get an invitation to like join the studio. I mean, I was ready like an hour before class. We gotta be on time, we gotta be on time. And that was it. I mean, it was a Montpelier Karate Club. I could still see their faces. And it's fun. Sensei Mike is actually on Facebook. He's found me in the last like 3 or 4 years, and he'll pop up on things. And it's always like, Chris, now he's like this sweet, I mean, he's like, he feels like a teddy bear to me. But like at MKC, when Sensei Mike walked in the forum, I was like, oh God, don't look at me. Please don't look at me. I mean, this was like old school karate, right? This is the 80s. There's like holes in the drywall. There's like thick chicken wire over windows, right? Just like, you know, there was one other woman that trained. So it was myself and Sue Arbogast. And that was it. And I remember, I'm gonna cry again. I remember the day she got promoted, Mike Toohey, who was like the governing, he took his belt off and tied her. Like they had to like have their own belts, and they all had their own belts. He promoted everybody, and then he took his belt off, you know, a torn gray threadbare belt, and he tied it around Sue. And I was like, this is big stuff. So that was my experience with martial arts as a kid. Montpelier Karate Club, a little judo to kick it off, and then life, then teenage years, then high school, and no one else did it, and I played sports. Okay, got it, sports. That's what we do now.
You know, you mentioned the belt, and immediately, just knowing like martial arts, I got kind of, the chills thinking about it, and then I thought about like Grandmaster Bowden giving Master Valentin's belt to him, and right. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, and the one guy that I train with is a brown belt, and his son said something about like, oh, your belt's old. He's like, well, it's got a lot of miles on it because it came from my instructor. So I mean, I had a student years ago. I was like, why do you wear that worn old tattered belt? Like, you need to get a new belt. I'm like, no, this is my belt. This is what I live in.
Yeah, it's like my Velveteen Rabbit.
Exactly, yeah. Let's see. Sarah Lynn Smith Fingerly says, good evening from Sweden.
She's in Germany, I think.
She says Sweden. It says good evening from Sweden. So. Okay. And then Wanya Williams says, hey, MKL.
What up, Spinja?
Let's see. Alan Smith says, hello, Master Ohlson. I cannot say enough good things about her teaching. Her enthusiasm is the driving force behind her students' strive to succeed. I love her focus on why we do a move a certain way.
Oh, wow. So Alan is a JCK student. So he's one of the students of Master Tours that I've had the honor to train. I was teaching 4 classes, I think I said, a week with them for the last year. So and it was such a gift. I mean, Region 9, I mean, the World Tang Soo Do Association is a family, hands down, right? And then we're all over the world, and so the different pockets of us, like our regions. And Region 9, moving back to Maine, getting on the ground and starting training with the crew at Tri-City, Master Megan and Mrs. Megan. They were just like, yeah, come on down. Great trades. I don't know if you ever trained with Master Megan. He loves to bring out the weapons. I mean, like, he is, it's very fun, engaging class, and then starting to make our way into Connecticut and Region 9. I mean, I know so many of them from events already, but I mean, it was like a homecoming. There was no like, let me get to know people. Hello. It was like, hey, Kristina, whatever they know me as, and Jorge. Oh my God, I love George. Wish you were on. He was my partner both years at Masters Camp for the test.
Oh, George Brady?
Yeah,
Yes, he's awesome.
Yeah, and so, you know, walking into VK Meriden, the first time I got there, you know, Prithvi's there, Alan Payne's there. I mean, people are just like, I mean, it was the best. It was amazing. And then I had actually met Master Couture at breakfast at Nationals. So we had already kind of like, she saw me and she was like, join me. I mean, it's Master Couture, if you know Jen, it's like, she's just like, everybody's welcome, come on in. We had this great conversation that morning. And then Gong came out in April and she and one of her students joined a class and we just got to chatting and she was like part of the family and everyone's on Zoom and I was like, I can help you because I'm not in Connecticut, but I can help you. And so it's been such a good, just a gift to be part of, you know, Alan and the whole crew at JCK and teaming out conversations with the leadership there and be able to keep teaching Tang Soo Do because at the time I didn't have a studio.
Right.
So for most of the pandemic, I didn't actually have my own studio. And Master Couture was like, yeah, you do. And that's right, that's the family, that's what it's all about. So thank you, Alan, and the whole team there.
Through the, you know, the very first interview I did was Master Fairley. And, you know, it's the same thing. Like we were friendly and we'd talk when we would see each other. But through that, I realized how much we had in common and you know, we message all the time and I told him that I was doing an interview with you and he was like, yeah, she's Region 9 now. Like,
oh yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. That's Fairley and Lauren. And when we lined up, this is, oh man, I feel like the tears are just gonna come in and out today. I think about Region 9 and Grandmaster B, but so his birthday's in the beginning of December. And so that weekend, like he's teaching whole weekend. It's like what he loves to do. So we lined up for like the advanced black belt class. And I'm in between the two of them. Like Lauren and Master Dan right there. And I mean, the smiles, the giggles, the like speed challenges, like it was like, and I was like, all right, let's play. I'm in, you know, oh my God, we had so much fun. And you know, Grandmaster B up there, that twinkle in his eye, that smile, the love for like everything, right? The energy, the holding us accountable, but like always the joy just coming out from who he is. Such a gift, such a gift. Yeah. Master B and I joked around. It's like, because now I'm back here in California. It's like Region 91. I'm Region 91.
91. I don't know. Bobby Nelson says you're Region 1 forever.
Yeah. I know.
Don't worry, we'll talk about you soon enough, Master Nelson. So you said you took a break. You had your, you know, sports in high school. So how old were you when you got back into the martial arts?
I would say, so I did a semester of Sado in college. Like it was an offering, it filled, well, I think my rugby could fill the PE credit. But anyway, like it was like check something off. And I hadn't done things in a long time. And it just didn't quite, it was like a cool experience, but yeah, didn't really land. And I was playing rugby and that was clearly fulfilling my physical aggression.
Yeah, contact.
So
wow.
So I moved to Tahoe and in '99, and it was in 2001. We were joking, we like started the same year.
Yeah.
My roommate was like, just let's go do yoga. The rec center offers a yoga class, and I'm like, sure. My mom, I know you're your mom. It's so sweet to know you're watching. My mom's a yoga meditator. Like she's an ER nurse by trade and has shifted into the holistic side of things. But so I grew up around energy and yoga and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, yoga sounds great. Let's go. So we're upstairs and we do the whole yoga, and we're at the end. Of yoga, if you don't know, like you typically are lying in like a prone position. It's called shavasana. And they've got some like chill music going, and you're like spacing out at the end. It's like my favorite part of yoga. You're like, it's the best feeling ever, right? Your body's completely loose and limber, and you're like, I could just float away on this mat. And then all of a sudden, people started key upping downstairs. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a little jarring. And immediately I'm like, I'm in the wrong room. I'm in the wrong room. So we finished yoga and I went downstairs and Master Schroeder was teaching us Tao City Tang Soo Do. And I just popped my head in, and it was like this flood of like where I belong, familiar, like all these uniforms, people moving in rows. Like I was like, just like, it was like I was starving. Like I was like, just tell me what to do. Like, you want my money? Like, when do I come back? Like, just hurry, hurry, hurry. I was like, I think I was trying to finish his sentence. It's like, okay, so Tuesday? Okay, got it. Like, oh, it was great. It was great. So yeah, I came back the very next class. I don't know if you know Patrick Surso. He's a Sandan, but he's no longer training, but he was a Sandan when I started in 2001. And so he was like, so what brings you to martial arts and what are you hoping to get out of it? And I remember thinking to myself, but just let me get into the class. Like, where are we talking? Like, I was so like, this is what's been missing from my life. So that's what brought me back. And it was like, it was not just what was missing, it was like what I needed. And then the association and Master Schroeder and the community there, what we offer is it's so organized, it's so clear. It's like, here is your path, here is your student manual, here are your requirements. And then you forge your own path. Come once a week and don't practice, come 3 times a week and practice. Like, you know, your engagement will define how your path evolves. And so it was just like, oh, thanks, perfect. And that was 20 years ago. And here we are.
So it's funny, like you said, I started training in 2001, and I was 21 when I started. And yeah, it was the same thing. I came in for buddy day, and so whenever we do buddy day, it's like, hey, who's gonna bring a friend for buddy day? And it's like, guess what? It works.
Here I am.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah,
So yeah, if you know who Master Priest is, that was my buddy.
Well, that's funny because I did when I was like flipping through the PDFs, like there was some connect between 2 of you, and I forget what it was now, but I was like, yeah, I know who Master Priest is. Yeah.
So when you got your start there in Tahoe, you were pretty much training as much as you could at different places, right?
It's true. Yeah. May not be, I mean, you know, I was. It's true. I would get a ride with Master Schroeder would give me a ride down to Reno to train with him and his instructors down there on Saturdays. Like, I was like, I am down. No car. This is Tahoe, but like, we have thumb. You pick me up. Let's go.
Yeah, I was the same way. It's like my instructor would be like, I'm training on Sunday. I was like, what time?
Oh.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was down for whatever he told me to do.
Yeah, when you find your thing, you're like, you my thing.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So a couple more. Denise Rodriguez says, love some Region 9.
Yeah.
Master Couture says Tang Soo. Jamie Farrell says Master O is family.
Girl, you know it.
So, hey, I also wanted to say, if your mom wants to chime in with anything or correct you, feel free.
Mom, what he's saying is in the chat.
Yeah, right? Make
really
a comment.
Nice. Well, she did already, didn't she? Say she loved that beautiful smile.
Yes. Do you have anything more to add?
Yeah.
Do that. Master Soto's dad shared quite a few stories, and it was quite amusing.
Yeah.
So, you know, you start training in Tahoe. Where do you get the itch? Do you start teaching there, or does
yes.
it go farther?
Yeah. So I did. I think around red belt was probably when I started showing up to like the kids class and just being like, hi. And the instructor was like, let's go. And so that just became my routine. So I would show up an hour and a half before my actual class. And while it wasn't formal and I wasn't the instructor, I was there to help. Right. And so that was when I started. And I started teaching in general. I started teaching like back in college. I'm a snowboarder. And so I got certified as a governing body, American Association of Snowboard Instructors. So I got my level 1 in Vermont in like, 8, 7, something like that. And so that was really great because it provided some platform about teaching and learning styles and age development stuff. So that was really helpful. So that when I started teaching Tang Soo Do, or started showing up and trying to figure out how to teach Tang Soo Do, I had this like this base understanding, because at that time I continued to teach Tahoe, teach snowboarding in Tahoe. So at this point in time, I'm a fully certified snowboard instructor with the AASI. And so that provided a huge foundation for me, because then we're getting very in depth on learning styles, teaching styles, cognitive development, all that kind of world. And so that transitions, I mean, human's a human, doesn't matter what I'm teaching it, right? So, so that was definitely helpful. And then, you know, that didn't stop. Chodon Bo, I'm assisting, and then Chodon is needing help. And then that's when I moved to San Francisco. So there's a little pause there where I wasn't teaching. But I taught teaching, I taught sailing on the lake, on Lake Tahoe. So I've kind of always been like teaching.
So you're in the dojang, or you're outside.
Yep. Even with rugby, like we're a club sport in college. I know some schools probably have it, but like we were a club sport. So you get a little budget from the SGA and you do your best with it. Mm-hmm. So you learn management skills. I was a captain. I was something else, I'm sure. But when the coach doesn't show up because you only pay them $50 a season, they're like, I have a job, right? All of a sudden the captains are like, all right then, I'm ready to practice. Here we go. Outsider in the dojang, making it happen.
That's right. You have seen a lot of pictures of the disc golf lately. Is that something you've been in? Is that a new thing, or have you had
new thing?
Oh, okay, awesome.
That is a new thing. Yeah, my brother's been playing disc golf for probably as long as I've been doing Tang Soo Do, about 20. And so when I moved back to Maine 2 years ago, he was kind of like, all right, you're gonna have to play now. He lived out in California with me for a couple of years. We're super, super tight. And he would play in Golden Gate Park all the time. And I think maybe I went once and was like, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. So in July of 2019, it was like, it's on, you have to learn. And so I took my licks and, you know, tried to figure it out. And it's like a lot of things, you have your learning curve and it's kind of up front, which is nice. You get beyond it and you're like, okay, now I can develop. And yeah, it's so much fun. And you know what's fun is now that I'm into it and I post about it, there are other people, of course, in the association that play. So like my Gong mentor, Ramona Wickstrom, has someone else in Minnesota, I don't think they're in the same dojang, Ryan Bennett, who is a serious disc golfer, and so is her husband. I can't quite tell yet because this is a new friendship, but I think they have their own course or their course in their backyard or something like that. So we've become friends, and I played in 2 large-scale events as an amateur because, I mean, I'm having fun. That's what it's about, right? But so she's just playing the tournament, so we're going back and forth on stuff like that. So she took a whole bunch of like Justin and Yoshi and I'm trying to think who else. We're all playing disc golf with her, and I'm like, this is awesome. And yeah, there's a couple other guys that have been like, oh, what do you throw? I'm like, yes. You wait, Masters Clinic. I'm gonna put together a little disc golf excursion. I'm like, let's go, team. We're gonna throw.
Nice. Ryan just chimed in and said, yes, ma'am.
All right, girl. Can't wait, of course.
That's awesome. So in the time of, you know, you're at Chodon Bo, you get to San Francisco. We haven't really talked about Grandmaster Shin yet. So can you tell me the first time you saw Grandmaster Shin or got a chance to meet him, or any stories about him?
Absolutely. So the first time I met him would have been like as a brown belt in 2002 at World Championships. So it was very much like, you know, you wait in line, you get things signed, have your picture taken, kind of run away. You have no idea what's going on. And so over the years, there's been, you know, a little more of a development there. And one of the really big gifts was being involved with World Gong, you know, back in the beginning and being able to, they did West Coast clinics in Monterey, California for years. And doing those clinics in like 2008, 2009, 2010. And in 2008, 9, like there's like 40 maybe people there and sitting around a round table. I mean, I literally had breakfast and sat between Grandmaster Shin and Mrs. Shin. And he just wanted to talk about like, how's your day? And what do you think? And I'm like, so being able to relax into that space and actually acknowledge that like you're the grandmaster, but you're also a human being that wants to have a conversation and not always be up on that pedestal. And so being in Qigong was really a special opportunity, I think, to be able to spend time with Grandmaster Shin. And in 2007, so before Qigong, I had opened the studio, and the regional championship was in Tahoe. I was all excited because this is like my first time wearing my dress blues to a formal event, right? Like I'm all excited. Left them on the back door, left them on hanging on the door. So anyway, but I get there, and Patrick Searso, who's just my Tang Soo Do brother, he's one of my best friends, and so he's doing security, and he sees me in the back, says hi, and I introduce myself. I'm like, I'm Kristina Ohlson, and he goes, San Francisco, all the little kids, and I'm like, yep, that's me. It was great, and it just was like that moment, and Grandmaster Bodwin did it, and Grandmaster Strong does it. It's like it's part of like the magic, I think, of being a grandmaster. You just know, like they just know, and you're like, yep, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. So for me, my sweetest moments with Grandmaster Shin is watching him with kids. I mean, he was always like, no, put me in front of that ring. You just want to watch the kids, and just watching him with kids and with people in general. It's just such it just warms my heart to think about the joy that he took in bringing Tang Soo Do, not just to like, as he started in the army, to the GIs, but like coming to the country and opening up and teaching women and teaching kids, and really seeing it as a lifestyle, not as just this, not a discipline, but an art and a holistic approach, and just watching the joy come alive with the kids, and the patience and the curiosity. It was really great.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like, from your reputation back in 2007, with lots of kids, your mom says she is magical with children, clear, consistent, and caring, and fun. So,
Mom,
how did you get into, like, it takes a certain type of person to be able to teach kids. I teach from 4 and up, and not everyone's cut out to teach little guys. So what drew you to, being able to teach kids and being good at it? It just happened.
Well, patience obviously is part of it. You have to be patient, and I think one of the challenges of becoming an adult is we are, by our socialization, taken out of the present moment. We're always thinking 5 steps ahead, trying not to forget the list, remember which kid is where if you have kids, right? Like, did I get this project done for work? What's for dinner? Like, we're just always everywhere, often but here. And it doesn't really work with kids. And if you can't soften that or pause that, it makes it really hard to be with kids, because they are in the moment, and often they're going slower. Even when they're really fast moving around, they're very much still here, and their processing is slower. So the adult mind is like, skip to the end, right? But you can't with a kid. You gotta be like, sound it out, it's gonna be okay. And if that's frustrating, it's really hard to show up, because the kids will pick up on that. And I think the fact that I am a kid really helps, because I am A-okay, going slow, being silly, and taking our time. And if it takes you that long to think about which is left and right, double check it, second guess yourself, come back to it, then figure out, no, that's not on top, this is on top. I mean, if we're in a hurry, it doesn't work. But if you can be present, you can be present. And also worked at an art and yoga studio for toddlers for about 1.5 years before I opened Paresh in San Francisco, and a lot of holistic, like Reggio Emilio, Montessori kind of conversations in there. And so a lot of like letting go of that there is an agenda. The agenda is to play, however that happens, and so to really step back and let kids do their thing. And I think that makes a big difference.
Master Couture says, I remember Zoom class with our Tigers where Master Ohlson had the kids riding on their parents' back while doing blocks and punches.
Yep. One of my
Right there,
favorites.
there's the kid.
Yep.
You don't need to know anything else. I mean, that's just fun.
Right.
Yeah, you got to keep them engaged, especially in that in that arena where there's everything. You're in your house. There's everything around, so you got to do whatever you can to keep engaged. So it's awesome.
Grab your socks, punch them.
So you mentioned Paresh in San Francisco. You talk about being able to teach there. How long was that studio? How long did you have that studio?
So I opened Paresh, it was in 2007. I think technically it was like December 06, but like 2007 was when I had my storefront. And that lasted to 27. Well, we had the storefront for a decade. And then in 2017, my life got slightly hijacked. We didn't renew the lease, they didn't renew the lease. And so we had to move around the corner. We found a great space. And so Paresh was there for the next 2.5+ years. And then when I moved, the studio passed on to Don Gilio. So he had been teaching with me for almost a decade at that point in time. And so they're still training there. It's Summit Miss Martial Arts now. So the community's still growing strong and training and active and what have you.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when I was looking at stuff, I saw that Don trained with you, and I saw he had his own thing. So but I wasn't quite sure if it was, but that's great. A couple years ago, so he was in Region 8 for years.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure him and I tested for Edon in the same group.
Okay. Wow, that's great. I love that history.
Because I was looking at pictures and I saw him right behind me. I was like, hey, I remember that guy. And then I was like, hey, he was at Paresh. That's cool.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, we've mentioned Wanya and Bobby. So when did you first when did you cross paths with those two guys?
Well, it's funny. There was that pause, and I was like, Bobby's been really quiet. He's beaming over there. So I mean, obviously being in the same region, we've seen each other at regional events. I think Master Nelson and I, my first very specific memory, and I don't even remember what year it was. I thought it was Worlds. I'm like, no, it was a ring of 3 judges, so it must have been a regional event. But we were all in the ring, and it was Bobby and I don't remember who the person was, but we all had this. It was like this weird world of rank and certification, and I think he had the lowest Don number. I was the highest rank, but the third individual had the highest judging certification. We were like, it was just a joke. We had a big laugh about how things are kind of mixed matched in that class, and we just did that group, and we just laugh, and it just for that moment I'm like, yeah, I like this guy. And ever since then, we just had a good rapport, and then it was actually 2017. A lot of other things happened in my world. It was a little bit of a hijacking. So I was getting a divorce and moving, and then the studio lost its lease, and it all happened within a week. So it was like, okay, hold on a second. So I reached out to Bobby. I was like, listen, all this other stuff's going on, and there's a Spartan race my birthday weekend up in Seattle. What are you doing? And he was like, running a Spartan race with you? I'm like, perfect. So he was like, one day we're doing this. So the 3 of us went out and did the middle one. I don't know how big Spartan and Go Ruck, which is the other thing I do. They have basically small, medium, and larges. Right. So we went out and did the medium, and it was they did both that weekend. So we did the medium, the 3 of us, and Wanya was like, oh no, I'm not going back. And so Bobby and I then did the small. It was called the sprint. Yeah. And then it was funny. I don't know if you saw this. My Facebook memories came up within the last week. There was a post that Nelson made about, all right, we got to do the trifecta, which is doing all 3 in a calendar year. And so he listed off there's Hawaii, there's Tahoe, there's whatever. So we went to Hawaii. So in August, I think it was August of 2017, the 3 of us met up in Hawaii and did the large one. And then Wanya still needed to do the sprint. I actually did all 3 of them because that's how I am. Rugby. Okay. I'm like, they're here, I'll do them. Let's go. And my friend who got me into the Spartan races was there as well. And she and her husband were doing all 3. So I was like, I was doing all 3. But that was sort of the kickoff to our full-on crazy shenanigans. And then the following year, we all got invited to Masters. So it was we kind of all doubled down outside of Tang Soo Do, and then Tang Soo Do was like, oh, you're gonna double down inside too. Candidates together, and that's when, you know, the licorice wars and all things coffee. This is not coffee, Bobby. It's not coffee. Sorry.
Bobby says we only had 2 weeks to train for it. Hashtag bad idea.
Hashtag KO's fault.
And then Stevie Nelson says Hawaii was awesome.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Oh my God, Stevie. Such a trooper with all her shenanigans. You know, Stevie and Bobby, one of their first dates is a color run. So you know you've got a good one if you're like, all right, I'll accept it.
Oh, Stevie and Wanya at this pretty much at the same time both put in Twizzlers for life. Twizzlers.
Yes. That's right.
A couple Region 9 folks chiming in. Jairo Velasquez says Master Ohlson rocks.
Oh, I love you.
And Helena Rodriguez says you're incredible, ma'am. Love the energy.
Oh, love you, girl. Love you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Bobby has left the chat.
Perfect.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's funny seeing. I think right before you guys went, we went to Seattle and visited Master Elmore's studio. We were heading to Hawaii on a trip, my wife and I got to train with Bobby and Wanya there, and then saw you guys there at Master's Clinic. So to maybe talk about that, you said you doubled down. How was that the whole process of going to Master's Clinic and you talk about camaraderie? It's amazing.
It is, and it's no doubt, had we not like had 2017 together, that would have happened in 2018. It was so wonderful that we were like, oh, we're already here. And but yeah, we trained together. We had a group text together like before the event, like 20 push-ups, 2 bus stops. Like we were just like zinging text back and forth, and you know, it was great because I think we scheduled our flights that we would meet, that our second flight would be together. I mean, they often kind of happen that way anyway, but right. We were making sure that the timing was the same. It wasn't like later in the day. And yeah, it was great. Cards and Twizzlers or red buns. It was just definitely like a little trio, and it was meaningful. I mean, Masters Camp is meaningful. You know, if you haven't gotten there, you'll get there. Keep praying, don't quit. And it's meaningful. And one of the wonderful things that I remember leaving Masters Camp with was how perfect it was for me, and knowing that I had my own individual experience, and everybody had their own individual experience, and hopefully, most likely, their experience was perfect for them. And it was just like, it was like weirdly comforting, because you go into it with this like, first year candidate, like, and my experience was kind of a trip in that there was some mess up with the paperwork, so I wasn't on any of the lists. So, you know, I'm not on the bus list. I'm not on the like check-in list. There's no room. Like there's just all these things, and it's like candidate, you're like, everything's gonna be okay. And I'm like, yep, charge my card. I'm like, I was invited. Master Hour called me. I was invited. I'm supposed to be here, right? I get to go through all of that stuff. And then like, who's my roommate gonna be? And then so I checked when I asked, we came back from dinner. I'm like, do you know who my roommate's gonna be? And the woman's like, Giselle Sharp. And I was like, yes. We had just like in the last 2.5 years, I had seen her at business seminars and at the Region 20 championship, because we started going to those in 2016 from San Francisco, because you know, Region 20 used to be Region 1, used to be all the West Coast, and they split up just before I started training. And for the record, if Master Marshall's still there, I mean, love Region 20. They are like, and they're so close knit, and they train all the time together. And so Master G had been there because her original instructor, Aida, who has just moved to Motto, this is amazing. I'm like, if anyone can follow all that, was there. And so we had a great weekend together. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, Master G is my roommate. It'll be fine. You know, like just having a familiar person and walk through that door, and she's being like, girl, I'm so glad it was you. And I'm like, me too. Kept me up until 2 a.m. every night. Master G, I'll never forget that. But
It's funny, my first 2 years, my wife refused to be my roommate because she didn't want to get up as early as the candidates.
totally.
After I was done the candidate years, she, nicely let me stay with her.
Yeah.
Have you done one after a candidate or so 2022?
And then virtual, yep, exactly. 2022.
That's right. We'll have disc golf and candy, and
I know.
it's gonna be that's gonna be a lot of fun. So hopefully, fingers crossed that
it is.
Everything happens. So coming up to present time, you talked about it a little bit. When did you start the new program?
March.
Yep. And so talk about how that's going. And you're in an outside space, right? You were talking about having the banner and being outside.
Yeah, it's great to be teaching in person. And it's an interesting space for, I think, me to be in mentally, in that I used to have a very formal studio and a storefront dojo, or that space, and so when you teach in a temporary space or a borrowed space, it doesn't have that same structure and parameter. So there's that, but we actually have a solo tennis court, and it has high fencing around it. So we have a door and the flags, and so we've been able to create that sense of training hall, and the students are on it. I'm also on it, and so that helps. So it's been absolutely great. There's still a level of like what's next and what's happening. I think in my life, I'm very much here, but there's still that project, and so looking for space. Can I continue to do this? Like, how do we move forward? And we're growing. I'm not, Master Priest wouldn't be like, I'm like, I'm not really growing it. I'm not actively growing it right now. I made a post in Nextdoor, which is a community local. I don't know if you have them on the East Coast, but it's like Facebook for a neighborhood kind of. And that's generated the initial trial group. And then since then, it's been kind of bring a friend and word of mouth and the website, and we've done some reviews. And so it's organically starting to take off, and we're just around 25 now, and it's been great. It's been wonderful to be teaching and do Little Dragons, and then like a junior gut, the 7 to 11, 12s, and then teen and adult together. And it's been just wonderful. It's been wonderful. Great to be back out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's, we did about 3 months of virtual, and then we got back in the studio, and just after 3 months, it was like, thank you. Cause it's not the same. So I can imagine, being however long it was.
Yeah.
Like, you just missed that connection of, being with the students.
Absolutely.
Actually hearing them and key upping, and then not being on mute, and
yeah, right. I'm not reversing, yeah.
Vanessa Dennison says, Master O's new program is so awesome. The kids are improving by leaps and bounds every day. They absolutely love it. I'm so impressed with them.
Yeah, well, that's my fiance, so thanks, baby, love you.
Well, yeah, so I was gonna bring that up. Being a martial artist, you can't do it without good support. So
absolutely. And I'll tell you, she has encouraged me to do this for months now, and it was sort of like, well, pandemic and this and that. I always had sort of a story, and so she is in my corner 110%. And when she actually did a little post to Nextdoor when we moved here and said what we did, and people were like, well, let me know when your partner does this, let me know. And she's like, all right, you gotta do this. And I think a lot of it's just the level of unsureness that COVID has offered, and not really knowing. And I have been so lucky to be healthy through the pandemic. And honestly, parents, I don't know how you've done it. Like, we don't have children. I don't have to deal with like going to and from school. Like, she's been able to work from home. Like, we've definitely had a blessed, very safe passage through this pandemic. And I acknowledge and honor all of you that haven't had that. And so she's, it's time, and I appreciate her support. I love her support. And on day one, that first day we were out there, she was there, table was up. She had labeled jars like clean pens, dirty pens, here's your waiver. She managed the entire production. She helped, it was just great. And then she's often has in the past, like in 2017 and 18, she'd come to test and take photos. And at my promotion in 19, banners and had the kids signing things. There's always a strong person behind this without a doubt, and she's mine.
That's awesome. She responded back to you saying, but it's true. So there you go. Between your mom,
all right. I'll see
between your mom and her, we've got it covered. It's okay to be modest, but it's okay to acknowledge that you're good at what you do.
I love what I do, and I think when we love what we do, it makes it a lot easier to be good at it.
Absolutely, yeah. There's days that it's harder than other days, but to get there, but a lot of times, most of the time when you get to the teaching classes, it's like, all right, this is the fun part.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're wrapping up. We're almost at the 1 hour mark. Thanks again for joining me. This has been a blast. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to share with the people who are watching?
Anthony Bracco's a Yankees fan, and I'll never forgive him.
Who?
Anthony Bracco.
Oh. How can you be a Yankees fan up that way?
What's that?
I said, how can you be a Yankees fan up where he lives?
Well, and there is the question. But Grandmaster B's a Sox fan, and so everything's okay.
No.
And
I'm from Maryland, so I'm an O's fan. So
see, and that's totally legit. And if you're from New York, I'll allow it. But you Connecticut people are a confused breed. I love you, Region 9, but that's where we have our issues. Thanks, Master B, for being on the right side of history on this one. No, just grateful to be here. So glad you're doing this. Grateful to everyone that chimed in and commented, enjoyed it. And those of you that are watching it after the fact, thanks for coming out and watching it. And pay it forward. Get out there, get on the mats, share Tang Soo Do or Gong, or honestly, if you're someone that doesn't do it like Vanessa, you find your passion, and like you said, if we love what we do, we can be better at it. So you can, find your passion and share it. I think that's where all the light comes out of ourselves when we're alive in what we do. So I'm grateful it's Tang Soo Do. I'm grateful to have the association that gives me the vehicle to do what I love, which is be present with people and help them grow and be stronger. And Tang Soo Do gives us that opportunity. So.
Well, talking to you just gets me motivated. I can't wait to go in and teach class tonight. Do you have class tonight?
I do. I'm actually, when we get off, I'm gonna jump in the car and drive to San Francisco to a former student's high school graduation.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then drive back out of the city and teach 3 classes. So
cool. Well, thanks again for joining me. Thank you everyone for watching. If you share this post, let people know that it's out there. If you haven't liked the Meet the Masters page, give it a like. We have some great stuff coming up. Master Perry next week. We got Master Brunel. Yeah, Master Brunel the week after. So
that's a lineup, sir.
I know. Yeah, I've got a couple. Master Anderson will be coming soon from Region 5. So yeah, it's great. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, man, for joining. And Tang Soo, we will see you.
Tang Soo.